Good afternoon, friends. So, I'm going to introduce a very important topic in Android, that is coroutine. Now, I'll give you a brief introduction what is coroutine, and we'll go step by step how coroutine actually implements. And without wasting any further times, let get started. And don't worry, I have already prepared an app in order to save time. So basically, let me run my app once. Let's see. First of all, we will see the output and then we'll go for it. Yeah. So yeah, this is the app that we are going to prepare. So this is a simple app we can see, and whenever I click on it, it will open into a new page. So basically, this is the app. Now, if you press here, then it will open one new page. So basically, this is my app. Now let's see what we have done. We have already prepared this app without using coroutine. But here we will see how we can prepare it using coroutine. Now first of all, let me show you this is the postman, and I have already this is my get request, and we have already sent it, and this is 200. Okay, that is we have successfully got our data. We have successfully got our API. Now based on it, we will also prepare a data class that I have already prepared for you beforehand. So this is a file structure. As we all know that we have to follow the MVVM pattern. So this app follows the MVVM pattern as well as coroutine. Now, first of all, let's go to the Gradle section. Now here I have already enabled my data binding. As you know that data, I'm always using data binding. So yeah, I have enabled it. And this is the dependencies. I have also comment some lines to make more useful, to make it more useful. So yeah, this is the retrofill. We are actually loading the retrofit. Then we are using the JSON to JSON converter and all of that. First of all, when we try to implement MVVM API plus coroutine. Now, in the Gradle section, we have to enable the retrofit. Then we are using here something called life cycle. That is live data, coroutine, we are using it. And we all know that we are using the Picasso for image loading. So this is my simple Gradle section. So so let's recap. I have just enabled data binding as true, and we have implemented some dependencies over here. Okay. Now come to my XML part. Now this is my XML, that is activity underscore main dot XML. So let me zoom in. I think now it is clearly visible. So we have gone for a layout tag, as we all know that layout tag is a must for data binding. Then we'll go for the data tag. And this is my constraint layout, as you all know that I'm more comfortable to work in constraint layout. So this is my constraint layout, and this is my recycler view. I've gone for a recycler view here. Now, this is my any underscore layout. You can name it anything you want. Now, this is a simple layout I have prepared here. So this is my layout tag, as I have already told you, but still, yes, layout is a must in data binding. Now, this is my data tag, inside which I have gone for a variable tag. Now, variable block, what does it actually means? Means why we are using variable here. So variable block actually, you can say it is a part of Android data binding. Now, it is mainly used so that our layout can directly access Kotlin object. Means we are actually not we can easily access the Kotlin object without calling the find view by ID. Okay. Now it sometimes also allow two-way communication, means between layout and data, just like this at the date, and there are two curly braces, and we are actually writing. But if you are not using this variable tag, then you can't use it. So basically I have gone for a as we are gone for a data binding, so layout tag is important, data tag is also important, but inside data tag we are also including the variable tag. Okay, now activity second. Now this page actually works when we click on a certain list, it will open to a new page that we have already seen. So this is the layout for the next page. Now same way I have gone for a card layout here, then constraint layout, then I've gone for an image view, text view, text view. This is all my, this is simple layout that I have prepared. Now I have already shown you in my postman that yes, I have gone, I got some responses here. So based on this, I prepared a data class. Now this is a simple file structure, or you can say a folder structure. So my data class, and inside it I have got my anim response. Okay. Now just one sec. Now this is my anim response. Okay, I have prepared it that okay, let me, okay. Now see, I have prepared it. Now I named it as anim response here. Okay, so I prepared data. So yes, I prepared it. So here basically it contains ID, title, image, status, type. There are lots of things, but I have gone for this much only. Okay, now coming to my, so my data class is completed. Now we'll go for my interface, and I have named my interface as API service. Now interface actually, what does it actually contains? Now interface mainly contains annotations and abstract method that we have already seen in my previous video as well. But here we are introducing a new term, that is suspend. Now, suspend is actually a coroutine function. We will talk about it later on. But up to this, we only know that interface is actually holding some annotations and some abstract method. Okay, and it is returning as anim response. That is the name of my data class. So up to this, I think it is clear. Now my object class, that is, I've named it as API client. Yep. Now, object basically holds retrofit instance. Okay. So we all know that it actually it holds the base URL part, and in interface we actually hold the endpoint. Now API client holds the base URL. So here it is actually holding some retrofit instance. Now here one term is by lazy. Now why we are using by lazy? Now the API service object won't be created until its first access. Means if we never call API client.api service, there's no need to waste time and memory building at app start. So what do I mean? I will definitely made it clear for you guys. But up to this, just know that API client itself is an object that we all know, and object in Kotlin is a singleton. But with lazy, the API service. So the API service, you can see the API service inside also behaves like a singleton. Okay, it also behaves like a singleton and is created, and it will create only if it needed, otherwise it won't create. Okay, so I've gone for by lazy. You can also follow the traditional method that I have already shown in my previous video, but by lazy you can say it's a means in coroutine we mainly focus on by lazy, means it is more smooth to work on by lazy. So I have done my data class, my interface, and my object here. Okay. Now I'll go for the repository. Okay. Now I have created one package, that is my repository, under which I have my anim repository. Okay. Now, repository, you can also call it as data access layer. Okay. Now, actually, what does it actually means? What is the purpose? Why we are using repository? Okay. Now, repository actually accepts the reference of interface. Okay. Let me repeat it once. So basically, it accepts the reference of interface and it gives the definition of the abstract method. Remember, I have told you in interface, it actually contains the annotation and the abstract method. Now, repository actually gives the definition of this abstract method. Okay, and it also accepts the reference of interface. Okay, now this is a constructor parameter that we all know, and basically this line, the total line is a class definition that we all know, right? Now, suspend, I have already told you that it is actually works when we are using coroutine, but we'll definitely dive deep into it. But basically, this is my anim repository. Now, I'll come to it again. Okay. Now I'll go for my adapter. That is my anim adapter. I have named it as my anim adapter. Now, this line actually is the class definition that we all know. Now, now this line, look at it. Private val, one sec, yeah. Private val on item click, anim item and unit. Now, it is actually, you can say it is a constructor parameter that we all know, and it is actually a lambda function. Why we are using a lambda function here? Because in order to handle click events for each item, so we are using it. Okay. Now it actually extends, we can see it actually extends list adapter. Okay. So this is all what I mean by this line. Now, on create view holder. First of all, why we are using on create view holder or the purpose. Okay, purpose is, it is basically called when recycler view needs a new row. Okay, now this one, that is inflate part. Here what we are doing, turns your actually turns that we have already built, turns our anim underscore layout.xml that we have already created. This one. Okay. So turns our anim underscore layout.xml into a binding object. Okay. And it actually, you can see there is a return statement as well. Returns a new anim view holder with the binding and the click listener. Okay. Now on bind view holder. Okay. Now, as usual, what is the use? Why we are using on bind view holder? So on bind view holder actually fills an existing view holder with data. Okay. Now here is one thing, that is get item, and in the bracket we are using position. So it actually gets the anim item at that position from list adapter, nothing else. And we are binding it. Okay. Now this one, that is anim view holder. Now it actually holds the reference to views. It actually holds the reference of the views for each row. And as we are using the binding, so give direct access to the views in the XML via data binding, obviously, as we are in a Blink data binding. So yes, so actually you can say that it actually gives direct access to views in XML via data binding. This much work is done by the binding part. Okay. Now there is a function you can see, fun bind. So actually passes the data model to the XML variable. Okay. And we have gone for Picasso. We all know that it is mainly used to load the images. Okay. Now there is one thing, that is binding.root.set on click listener. So when the whole row is clicked, whole row, I'm again emphasizing on the word row. So when the when the whole row is clicked, it calls the on item click lambda with that item. Okay, I think it is crystal clear now. And the last one, that is the diff callback. Now it actually, what is the purpose? Why we are using diff callback? In my previous video, I haven't gone for diff callback. Now why we are using diff callback? Now tells list adapter if the items are same or the contents are same. If so, the recycler view update only the changed item instead of redrawing the whole list. So actually, it is more efficient way. So diff callback is basically used that it will only check are the contents or the items are same. If same, if not same, then only that part, means the recycler view update only the changed items instead of redrawing the whole list. Okay. Now we will go for my repository once again. Okay, so this is my repository. So this is my import statement, and I have already told you that this is the class declaration. Now, I have already told you that anim repository actually is a data access layer that we all know. Now, here there is a constructor parameter that I have already told, that is the private val API service. We have already seen this is actually a constructor parameter. The repository gets a reference to retrofits. Actually, what does this parameter actually works? Constructor parameter actually works. So it is a constructor parameter, you can say. Now, the repository gets a reference to retrofits API service. So it can make API calls. Basically, this part, this much of work is done by repository. Okay. Now, suspend. Now, I have already told you that suspend is basically a coroutine function. Okay. Now, first of all, let me tell you. I forgot to tell you what does I actually mean by coroutine. Now, coroutine is actually Android background task. Okay, means it won't block the main thread. Main UI thread will work on, and that is the main work of a coroutine. Now, suspend is also a function of coroutine. Means it can run asynchronously without blocking the main thread. Okay, this much work is actually done by suspend function. Now there is one function called getAnim, as we can see. See, suspend fun getAnim. Now the repository method, this is a repository method. It tells the view model will call to get the anim data. Now, I haven't gone for my view model. I will definitely show you what does I mean by view model. Now, get anim is basically use the repository. If this is a repository method, and our view model will call to get the anim data. Okay. Now it returns, as we can see, it returns the list anim item, just the list of anim, not the entire API response. Okay. Now, so marking it suspend actually allows us to call for network request without blocking the main UI thread. And there is a return statement. We can see it calls the retrofit endpoint defined in API service. Okay. This is the work of repository. I think now it is clear for you. Okay. Now, okay, this is my, okay, let me close all the tabs first. Now this is my view model. Okay, this is my view model. Now, as we can see, this is the package, this is the import statement, and this is the class declaration. I think you know what this is the class declaration. Okay. Now, declares anim view model that we can see, and it actually extends view model. And here also there is a constructor parameter, that is private val repository anim repository. Now repository is actually injected. Here repository we have actually injected repository via constructor. Okay. Now here we can see that is private val underscore anim list mutable live data, and this is the live data that we can see here. Okay. Now what does it actually means? It actually means private mutable live data means the view model will only update. Okay. And this one, that is the val anim list, it is actually public read only view. You can see public, it is a public, obviously public, because there is no private is there, and by default all things are public. So it is a public read only view of the data. UI observes anim list, but it cannot change it, means it cannot modify. Okay. It cannot modify, but UI can observe it. Okay. Now there is a function called fetch anim. Now this is also obviously a public function, we can say. It can call to trigger the data load, means it will only load the data, nothing else. Now this is very important. Now view model scope dot launch. Okay. It actually start a coroutine in the view models lifecycle aware scope. View model scope, that it start a coroutine basically. Okay. And this view model scope dot launch actually runs on the main dispatcher. Now there is a try and catch block. Now this is a try and catch block. As we all know, we are using it for exception handling part. Now this is dispatchers.io. It is mainly used when we are going for when we used to call our API. So I think this is this part is clear now. Now repository.getAnim. It is also a suspend function that makes the network request. Okay. So this is the main thing. And see, if anim is, I have gone for a log D. This log is mainly used for debugging. Anyway, if this is not at all required, if you don't want to debug it, then you can simply skip this line. But in order to debug it, I'll add here. Okay. Now, if statement is there, so I have so see what is written over here. If anim dot is not empty, okay, then update the, obviously then it will update the data. And post the value asynchronously. Okay. If empty logs that no data was available, so we might instead post an empty list or expose an, you can say error. You can simply expose an error. Now, first of all, we have to know why we are using view model, or why in MVVM view model actually plays a very important role. So basically, it holds the UI related data, and it is also important for the configuration changes, means it actually survives configuration changes. Okay. Now, this is my factory, that is view model factory, and I have named here as anim view model factory. Now, why we are using factory? Okay. It is actually used to create view model instance. Okay. This is basically, okay, let me repeat it for you. It is mainly used to create view model instance with constructor parameter, like here in this case, like repository. And because not possible using default view model provider, we cannot create view model. Means basically we cannot insert constructor parameter in view model without view model factory. So we need view model factory. So this is my view model factory, and here also I have ejected my repository, and it extends, that is view model provider dot factory. Okay. So now there is a this is a generic term, that is this greater than and lesser than signs is basically called the generic term. So anyway, it actually create a model class, and it is telling that if model class is assignable from an in view model, then only return the repository. Otherwise, it will simply throw an exception, that is unknown view model class. Okay. So I think this is crystal clear for you. Once again, let me run my app so that it became more visible, it became more prominent for you now. Okay, let me run it. I don't know why, but my emulator is not working for a few days. Is not working actually since last few days. Sorry. Since last few days, my emulator is not working. I don't know why. So I have to connect my phone. Now, basically, we have got the response. This is the response. And whenever we click on it, it will open to a new page. That is the second. We have already told you. Okay, one thing I totally forgot, that is the my main activity and the second activity. Now we all know that basically all app starts from main activity. Then so basically this is my main activity. My bad, I totally forgot to tell you about main activity. So here we are actually binding our activity main, that is we already seeing that in activity underscore main.xml, where we only use the recycler view. Now we have on also bind our view model as well as adapter. Okay. Now on in on create, inside on create, we have gone for binding part, that is data binding util. We have gone for it, and for your convenience, I have already made an comment line, that these three lines basically set up the view model that you can see from here. Now I have also gone for I have already set up my adapter with the click listener. Means whenever we click an entire row, it will open to a new page. So this is the thing. And we all know we are actually using intent, means whenever we are trying to send data from one activity to another, then intent is required. So I've gone for the intent, and when we try to send data, then we will use, that is intent dot put extra whatever we are trying to send. And in my second activity, I will definitely show you that it will show get string extra. Okay. Now, this part, I think it's clear. And we have already built my recycler view. Then this is, you can see, it actually observes the live data and it updates the list and fetch data. Okay. Now this is, I think, clear. Now let me show you my second activity here. I've gone for the activity second binding. And here, as I have already told you, get string extra. And we are actually receiving whatever we are sending by the by put extra, we are actually receiving that. And I have gone also for Pikachu to load the images here. So now I think now this is clear for you. And this is based on MVVM architecture. Here we have seen MVVM architecture, API, coroutine. Okay. Now, that's all from my end. Thank you. Keep learning and keep motivated. Thank you. Good afternoon, friends. So, I'm going to introduce a very important topic in Android, that is coroutine.